Alongside Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the 2-minute drill. Tennessee wrapping up its first scrimmage of fall camp. Brent, Joe Milton drew a lot of praise from the head coach today. Said he's still got to clean some things up, but really playing at a high level, and did so today without his full complement of receivers.
Yeah, and not the greatest weather day out here. I don't think there's any worry about wide receivers where they are and all those types of things moving forward. But didn't have his full arsenal to work with. But where Joe Milton drew praise from the head coach is his command of things, his decision making, his eyes and where it's at. Says he's got a game situation stuff, and I think that just comes with continued work as you move through fall camp. But certainly sounded like a solid day for Joe Milton.
McCallan Castles, Ethan Davis, two guys that made plays on this day. McCallan Castles catching a touchdown from Joe Milton. Ethan Davis catching a couple of different balls of the 20-yard variety. Both those players have stepped up in a thin room, and he said, they're going to play.
Yeah, and they are. We've talked about that. I mean, Ethan Davis may be the most important high school kid coming in just because of the lack of depth in that room. I think the most encouraging thing to come out of that conversation from Josh Heupel today was about where they're playing in the C block, down in the line of scrimmage. Because, look, splitting out wide, playing wide receiver, that's
second
home,
nature to them.
That's home for both those guys. So playing inside is a challenge. Both those guys showing up physically, I think, in the run game. Sounds like the defense handled things early, which we fully expected. The offense kind of found themselves a little bit on the back half of the scrimmage, which means there's plenty for both sides to work on. But a good day for those tight ends.
Back to the quarterback position, Nico Iamaleava drew a lot of praise from Josh Heupel today. The amount of growth he's had from spring to now, and talking to a couple of different people that were here, they kind of reinforced that. Said Nico had a really good day and did so under duress. The defensive line really kind of got after his group in particular, and he was still able to make some plays.
Yeah, fast learner. I mean, I think that's the big takeaway from Nico. That was the takeaway from spring. That's been a takeaway from fall camp. Guy who doesn't make routine mistakes over and over. He learns and moves forward. Still got a ways to go. Okay, so let's nobody needs to get all caught up in some new quarterback competition. But the encouraging sign is his growth is going fast. And Josh Heupel was asked, so how do you manage a backup guy pushing? He said, look, you got to grow every day. We're turning him loose. He's getting to see everything from the defense, and he's learning on the go and learning how to handle it, and I think he's taking strides, which is encouraging.
Not to totally hide the lead, but Cooper Mays, Coach Heupel, did say it had a procedure. We'll be out a couple of weeks. We'll see how quickly you get back. 2 weeks could end up being three could end up being one. You just never know how quickly somebody recovers. In his absence, Ollie Lane stepped in, a few other guys stepped in, but clearly Ollie feels like the guy that probably is the guy trending towards being that starting center, just because he keeps them going at a tempo because of his smart, demeanor off the field, on the field, kind of understands everything as a veteran.
Well, he's played in the SEC. He's played meaningful snaps in the SEC for this team when he's been thrust into action. Missouri comes to mind a couple of years ago. He's played against the Georgias and the Floridas, been put into action there. So he's got experience. So from a physical standpoint, he knows what he's getting into. Mentally, he can handle the center position a little bit better, I think. So when you combine the physical tools, the mental side of it, the experience side of it, he seems to probably make the most sense, although it is all brand new for him right now. I mean, it's been thrust into it. They looked at 4 or 5 different guys there at that position, and they'll continue to look at that moving forward.
Gerald Mincy did play right tackle today in the with the twos, which, again, I think ultimately he's probably their best option from a talent standpoint at right tackle, but he's predominantly been working on the left.
Well, and now when you talk about moving Ollie Lane to center, that left guard spot becomes wide open at this point as to where that goes. So do they look at a tackle inside? Does Mincy get more and more on the right side? And do they look at a Dane Davis inside at guard where he's played a little bit before? I don't know. But as Josh Heupel said, a lot of different combinations, a lot of different rotations. Glenn Ellerby said earlier this week, this scrimmage would determine a lot about kind of the direction they go with some guys in terms of what that rotation looks like, where they hone into that. We'll see what that looks like starting next week.
He's Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price. Full coverage of today's scrimmage up at Volquest.com. Make sure you like and subscribe to this video, and don't forget, it's a great time to join us over on the General's Quarters.